Yo guys, Mike from Sim Racing 604. Welcome back to Assetto Corsa. Welcome on board the Formula Alpha 22 from Virtual Racing Cars. And the reason I am featuring this near 3.5-year-old car is because it is now free. At the time this came out, this was the most advanced mod ever created for Assetto Corsa, and since then a lot of, well, sorry, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the features of this car have been carried over into other VRC mods and even adopted by other teams, and this was really sort of a next generation, mind-blowing, influential car in terms of modding for Assetto Corsa. And so, yeah, again, this has been made free. So if you had been holding off because you're not a fan of paid mods or just weren't into this style of car, well, now you can try it out for free and realize what all the hype was about. I remember clearly where I was when this car came out, when this car was released. I was, I think, one of just a handful of content creators who got access to this early to create content about it. Virtual Racing Cars had reached out to me. It was May of 2022. Why do I remember that so distinctly? Well, because I was out of country when this was releasing. So they were kind enough to send me an advanced copy of this mod. And then I went out of town to Germany for the Rennsport Summit. Yes, you remember that in 2022 when about 100 of us influencers and esports professionals all went to Munich to try out this new game called Rennsport. And, well, it was awesome and amazing what a trip that was, but unfortunately, in the long run, Rennsport didn't last. Or, well, I guess it's just released, and some people say it's pretty good, but I think the general consensus is that it's underwhelming after so many years of development. But anyway, I had a great time in Germany, and what has lasted the test of time, or stood the test of time, is Assetto Corsa, and including this Formula Alpha 2022. So while I've been blabbering on about Rennsport, I've been kind of settling into driving this 22, and it is amazing. It stands up beautifully. They released 3 more versions of this, the 23, 24, and now 25, most recently the 25. And yeah, you literally needed a manual to drive. Oof. Apparently you need skills to drive it too, which I don't possess. But yeah, you literally needed a manual to fully understand what this car could do. If you go back and look up the Formula Alpha 2022, you probably, or you might find a video by me where I highlighted some of the features. And again, they might not sound that impressive 3.5 years on, but at the time, they were absolutely mind-blowing. Like the flexible front wing, the driver's feet move with the pedals, which I thought was pretty cool. And also of note, and you might have forgotten this actually, 2022 was a new regulation year. We were coming out of the Mercedes dominant years in Formula 1, and so they got some new regulations for 2022. And Mercedes had no side pods on their car, and everyone thought, oh boy, they're just going to dominate again. This is Hamilton's 8th championship. This is a slam dunk. And guess what? Mercedes stunk. And one of the symptoms their car had that made it virtually undrivable for George Russell and Lewis Hamilton at the time was the porpoising effect. It was happening to a lot of cars, and yeah, Mercedes had it quite bad. And if you're not familiar with the term porpoising, if you weren't a Formula 1 fan in 2022, what that basically meant was the car was bouncing brutally down these straights. It would pass a certain threshold of speed, and the car would just bounce around violently. And these poor drivers who have, you know, some of the strongest necks in sport were complaining that, you know, they were getting sore necks and headaches and whatever else from this porpoising effect. And VRC actually modeled that here. So I had to showcase that in my video, and I remember just how mind-blowing it was. That's how detailed the aerodynamic design of this car was and is. Sorry, I can't find my... There we go. There's my DRS button. Yeah, so that's how detailed this car was. They actually bothered to model the porpoising. You can see it there, actually. And so it's a thing of the past now. The teams were able to get ahead of porpoising for the 23 season, and I think probably toward the back end of 22 if memory serves. But at the time it was pretty bad, and yeah, so to have that recreated in game was just absolutely mind-blowing. So yeah, I was in Germany when this car came out, and so I had to, and I only got the car like a couple days before I left for Germany, so I was scrambling trying to put content together, and then the embargo lifted on the 28th if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, we were off to the races, so to speak. But yeah, pardon me, frog in my throat here, but yeah, it's just a mind-blowing car, and again, very influential. A lot of the features here, VRC really had to push their limits in-house to develop these features, and have been able to carry those lessons on to future versions of the Formula Alpha, and some other modding teams have kind of said, you know what, that was a cool idea. Actually, was this the first car? I'm just thinking now. This may have been the first car in Assetto Corsa with an ignition and starter system, or the first mainstream mod anyway. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling it might. There, you see the porpoising, you see that bouncing effect? That is porpoising. It's been happening this whole video, but I've been too busy flapping my gums about Lewis Hamilton and Rennsport and May 28th and whatever else, and yeah, I just hadn't noticed the porpoising. But an absolutely phenomenal mod, huge fun, so don't think twice about this one. Yes, it's a couple of years old, but it stands up beautifully. There's nothing wrong with this car. Sometimes you go back and look at Assetto Corsa mods and you're like, CSP kind of dated this car, but not this 22. It drives phenomenally well, and it's actually more stable than I remember it. I remember when the 22 came out, it always felt knife edge to me, and I had a lot of trouble driving it. And then the 23 kind of stabilized things, and the 24 and 25 have, I think, kind of been the balance of that. But yeah, I remember the 22 being kind of knife edge, but this doesn't feel like it anymore. So this is version 1.3, so perhaps its default setup is a little more stable. I'm not sure what it is, or maybe I've just advanced as a driver, I'm not sure. But yeah, I feel a lot more confident driving this. But yeah, just a huge, huge blast to drive this car. Sounds are phenomenal. Big sparks shooting through the cockpit there. DRS open. We'll make this one the last lap. So no brainer. No brainer. Go get the 22 if you don't already own it. They also made some other cars free as part of their, I was going to say as part of their Black Friday sale, but they're permanently free actually. So we got the Alpha 22 and the Formula Beta 2008. So that's meant to replicate Formula 2 from, as you would guess, 2008. And it's a really nicely done car. One of the best VRC produced, and it's now free. I'm not sure why they decided to make that one free, but don't look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say, and just get yourself the Beta 2008. It's very, very fast, but very point and shoot. This car requires a lot of thought. You kind of have to keep your eye on the technical systems on board this car and make sure you're kind of squeezing the most out of the most performance possible out of all the different settings. The 2008 Formula Beta is very much point and shoot, and not quite this level of performance, but still faster than everything but the Formula 1, I'm guessing. Maybe Super Formula is faster, I'm not sure, but either way, elite levels of speed from that 2008 Formula Beta, and that is now free. And also the Formula NA 2012 and 2018, don't quote me on that, I should have done more research, but there are a couple of the Formula NA, which is based on IndyCar, from 2012 and 2018. The 2018 I really like. 2012 not so much. I wasn't a fan of IndyCar at that time for whatever reason. I just kind of got out of it. Huge IndyCar fan again now, but at that time, 2012-ish, yeah, IndyCar kind of missed me. So yeah, that mod is not for me. But it's free, so you can try it out, and maybe it's the best mod you've ever tried in your life. So free to give it a go. I think I said the last lap was going to be my last, and here we are running another. I got to turn down those spark effects. That's a bit much. But yeah, absolutely wonderful, this Formula Alpha 2022, and a piece of Assetto Corsa modding history. So yeah, we'll finish this lap. That'll do it. I'm gonna try and remember to give you guys a replay. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on the 22 or any of the other newly free cars from VRC. Sorry, virtual racing cars, I think is what they prefer to be called. Whoa! See if I can get the DRS on time. There we go. Timely. Alright, thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the replay. I'll see you next time.